I am out on one of my standard loops across the mountains to the Ahr River Valley. Today I would like to explore the mountains beyond the Ahr River, where when I go south of the Ahr, I usually head southwest and further into the mountains of that area, and rarely stay in that triangle between the Rhine Valley and the Ahr River Valley. Today I will, and we'll explore a climb and a downhill that I have seen in the videos of a local rider who does a lot of riding in the area, knows all the trails and routes, and these two paths, roads up and down to close to where he lives, are among his standards. So I want to see how they ride with a velomobile. While still riding the forest, let me show you the map for today. This only gives you the section that you will see in this video. It's a downhill to Dernau, and it's the uphill from Ahrweiler to Ramersbach, and then all the way down back to Bad Breisig on the Rhine. The downhill to Dernau I have done many times. The other two climbs and downhills I haven't done. That's why this video is called Peak Point Ramersbach. I have included this downhill to this video because it is very peculiar and it's very different from the other big downhill that you will see. I like it because it is a rapid change of landscape. Here you see the wide open rolling hills, farmland landscape outside of the river valleys in my region. And this downhill is sort of a 2-minute total change of landscape as we're leaving the rolling hills up above and dipping down deep into the Ahr River Valley. And the only crops that grow there are grapes. It's rocks and steep vineyards, and it's an entirely different country. It's different people. It's very touristy. It is very scenic, very pretty also, and a total contrast to the land around. Riding this downhill is a bit of a challenge because you need to control your feelings. It is very tempting to fly down here, but it's also dangerous, and you need to be on your brakes, and you need to be mindful of your stop and distance when you take on a downhill like this one. At least the road is a very good one. Very smooth, nice tarmac. It rolls very well. And quite some contrast to the other big downhill that is the main part of this video.
There's a first intersection, and there's the other one coming up pretty soon. So you see in a very short time we have eaten up about 140 meters of elevation loss. That is very different from the other big downhill, which has a very gentle decline. Through the town of Ahrweiler today, I had a bit of a detour because from the direction where I'm coming from, there are major road constructions going on, so I have to find a path, a sneaky path through that old city, which is totally surrounded by the original city walls. And here I'm riding part of that outer wall. The buildings to the right are built against that wall. From this gate here, Marcus Bersheim, the other rider I referred to you earlier, started his climb, which inspired me to take this route today. Here, this is the Ramersbacher Straße. This is the road that leads all the way up to Ramersbach. And here I'm beginning the climb. Marcus said it's good to ride because it is steep in the beginning and then it eases. And I found that that was exactly right. It was rather steep in this section here, but later on it was actually quite comfortable to ride because it was also in the forest. There was shade, and yes, there was also traffic, but not too much of a traffic, as you can see here. It is an 8-kilometer continuous climb, so that's quite some distance to climb, but it's very doable. I don't give you the entire uphill. That would be quite a lengthy video and maybe something for a late night watching if you're sleepless. But I give you a few clips that show you what the road is like. It's sort of swinging back and forth. It goes along the mountain and gradually gets us up to an elevation which is significantly higher than the one on the north side of the Ahr. There, my high point was 270 meters, and we're already at 251 here, and we're going, I believe, up to 450. If you look at the elevation change, the graph is not always very steady, but here you can see that it is oftentimes around 5 to 6%. Sometimes it goes up to 8, 9, or 10, or even slightly above that. But the general tendency is in the moderates. It's 5 to 6%, which I think is nothing that kills anyone. Not easy for drivers to pass me because they have to wait until they can see whether there's traffic ahead. So I think it's a lesson in patience for them. I probably could go faster, but why would I want to? to a driver, it wouldn't make that much of a difference anyway. I like to relax on those uphills. As you can see here, I eat a banana, or I try to never get out of breath. I'd rather be fit for the next downhill or rolling hills stretch than being totally exhausted at the end of the climb. Okay, now 350 meters almost, and the climb should not be lasting that much longer. Always a good indicator. The more of the sky that you see, the closer you are to the end of the climb. And this was one of those corners where a lot of sky appeared all of a sudden, but there was still a bit more of climbing to do. But here, this now, opening up, getting out of the forest, that is another one of those indicators that you have almost done it. We're at 370. We still have to do some 60, 70 meters of climbing, but it feels very different because you leave the forest behind. Getting a little steeper towards the end. By the way, when you look at the elevation gain readings in the center, you see that in the beginning of a clip it's off, and it takes like 10-15 seconds. Here I'm entering the town of Ramersbach. It takes like 10 to 15 seconds to get to the real value. Sometimes I have taken the beginning of a clip out for that reason, because it is so disturbing, but on other times I don't. Like many villages out in the countryside, Ramersbach is a sleepy little town. It is around the lunch hour now, and practically no one's around. People are off here for work. Maybe a few come home over lunch, but most don't. Needless to say, but I still say it, this is Main Street, Ramersbach. Behind that turn that you see coming up, there's another little hill, and then the downhill begins. Top of the climb was 456 meters, and now there is 36 kilometers of downhill or near downhill riding ahead. And I give you these 36 kilometers uncut. So you will, if you have the strength to watch through it, see the entire downhill ride from up here in the mountains to Bad Breisig down on the River Rhine. Very typical landscape here, rolling hills, a lot of farmland, a lot of grassland, actually. And as we turn left here now, you get a view that extends wide into the country to the east. Beyond the River Rhine, the mountains you see in the very back, they are already on the other side. That's the Westerwald Mountains on the other side of the River Rhine. So you have a view of around 40 kilometers from here. Very nice ride, and I love these roads where you have a nice downhill and this spectacular view, which is far more spectacular when you sit in the velomobile than compared to sitting in front of a screen. Unfortunately, this road is not very good, and I haven't ridden it before, so I need to be careful here not to be trapped in some fast corner on bad surface with the rear wheel losing traction. That's the least that I want to happen. So you will see me reduce in speed. Well, like for example, this switchback, I did not know it was there, but I was prepared for the eventuality. So you will see me reduce speed more and more early than I could have done with the fairly high stability of the DF, because I don't know the road. Coming up is the village of Pfingst. There's another village, Unterpfingst, which means lower Pfingst, following this. Pfingst is as sleepy as all these other villages that I passed through, but it bears the same name as the creek, the Pfingst Creek, which has given this valley its name. It's the Pfingstbachtal, the Pfingst Creek Valley that I'm going down, and it leads all the way to the Rhine. That should be Unterpfingst now. Looks just like Oberpfingst. So these villages are basically built along the main street. You may have noticed that there's a black truck following me, I guess ever since I turned off at the beginning of the downhill. Probably the driver is curious what that little thing is in front of him, why it doesn't have a license plate, and still is as fast as a car on these roads. Okay, that looked like it was Schalkenbach that we're leaving. And I think we're also exhausted the patience of the truck driver. Now he's passing. You see that the decline is very moderate. It's 1–2%, sometimes 3%, but it is very, very gentle. And that is super. That's the best for a velomobile. I prefer the shorter and steeper climbs, though. You know, if you think of pedaling up 36 kilometers here, okay, that would still be no problem, but it takes an awful lot of time. Whereas now, going down, it's like less than 25 minutes. Coming up ahead now is the town of Königsfeld. That's the point where I got it wrong. I should have made a turn to the right here where the motorbike is coming out. I missed that one, and going into the direction of Bad Ahr, which is not the direction, it's on the Ahr. That's not where I want to go. So fortunately there's a little uphill which slows me down anyway in too high a gear. So I take the chance to stop and take a look. I have not been downloading the track for the day on the Garmin. Actually, I didn't have a track. I looked it up on the map, but I didn't create a track. So I take out my smartphone and look it up on the Maps app. Fortunately, there is cell phone reception, which is not guaranteed in all of these villages. That is fast enough, so the Maps app will work good enough. So I make sure that I get to the right road and that I don't have to turn around, but that I can find a way through the village and get back to the road that I should be on. Please bear with me. I'm an old man, so it takes a little time until I've found it all out. But I will continue in about a second. Okay, at least my stupidness gives me the advantage of cruising through Königsfeld, which I otherwise would not have done, but would have just been flown by it. Actually, some people here. That's exceptional. This is actually the old main street of Königsfeld. This is one of those villages which is not just built along that one major road, but which has a main street of its own and major roads going by it. So that was downtown Königsfeld. This is where I should have come from, and now I'm back on the road I was supposed to be on. As we continue, the Pfingst Creek Valley narrows a bit, but still offers surprisingly nice views and plenty of open sky. The more narrow parts even, the more rocky parts are further downhill. see here's a bit of a gorge actually, where the valley is very narrow and should be becoming wider as we go down. In hindsight, the roads turned out to be better than I thought they would become. So higher speeds would have been possible, but my rule is better safe than sorry, so I thought the speed was just fine. Decades back, a new motorway was built through this otherwise very rural area to spark economic growth. And the interesting thing about this motorway, the A61, is that it has a couple of huge and wide high bridges to span the different valleys that this motorway is cutting across. And the Finks Creek Valley also has one of these bridges, and that's coming up there. You can see that on the south to north direction, there is quite a traffic jam. See all those trucks lining up there? I don't mind the fact that all the traffic is on that bridge and on that motorway, and I have a beautiful open road in front of me. Now this is the village of Walldorf that we're passing through. I then realized that the driver was waiting for another car, which is now behind him, a car with a trailer. They were probably riding together. I thought I had done something wrong and he wanted to yell at me, but he didn't. He was just waiting for his colleague. A bit further down, the two will pass me, but never gain that much on me. So at the end of the road, at the end of this movie, you will see these two again, because we more or less arrive at the same intersection with a difference of about 10 seconds. Leaving Walldorf, the downhill continues. Okay, so the first one has passed, and the second one is just waiting for a better spot to pass me as well. Very green here. Everything's green except for the road, and me, obviously. Also, the road quality has improved since Waldorf. This looks like it has been redone, or it's a newer road. It's certainly built where the old road was, but it looks pretty new. Okay, the last village en route to Bad Breisig, this is Gunnersdorf. You see that the two cars are still within eyesight there. Beautiful countryside. I'm always amazed that so close to major metropolitan areas, you can ride through countryside that, except for these few villages, is basically just land. You know, there's nothing. It's just trees and pastures and you know, and this road, and that's all. If it wasn't for the traffic, you could think that you might be in some remote area, let's say Scandinavia or so, where the population density is much, much lower than it is in this part of Germany. But you know, soon enough, once we get back down into the Rhine Valley, we're in a different world. There's heavy traffic, there's town after town, and there's railroads and high-speed roads and just everything. There is cycle tourists, hundreds of them I met on this trip with luggage on their racks. Here, I have not seen a single cyclist in the entire 36 kilometers. let's enjoy those last few kilometers of this beautiful road because soon it'll be over. On the right side of the road now, we're going by a pretty large campground. Actually extends for quite some time. A campground of that size in this type of valley would be totally unusual unless you knew that behind those mountains ahead is the Rhine Valley. So it is a campground that is just off the Rhine Valley with its major tourism. That's still the campground on the right side. This is the entry into Bad Breisig now. Here there is a gap in the mountains flanking the Rhine. That gap that has been created many years ago by the Pfingst Creek. And through that gap, we will travel to the big river. And all of a sudden, we're out and beyond the valley we've been through for the past 36 kilometers. And we'll be merging with the traffic that goes up and down the Rhine Valley. You see, and there's the car with the trailer and the other one. They want to make a right turn, so I passed them here because I would need to turn left. And you see, that's the difference. That's big traffic here on a Tuesday early afternoon. That's quite remarkable. One of the few occasions where I appreciated the bike trail on the roadside because I could pass by all the traffic jam and head back down towards the river. And this is also where it ends. We're back at the Rhine. Here's the big river. I have another 35 kilometers or so along the river to go home, but you've seen that in plenty of other videos, so I don't need to show you that again. Stay safe until next time. Bye-bye. This is the wooden bridge across the River Ahr, some 10 kilometers further north. I thought you might like that.